giving you useful and practical tips to help you make more money selling travel. This is the Art of Selling Travel Podcast, and here to guide you through it all, your host, Glenda Beagle.
Hey, travel advisors. Okay, so talking about polarizing content. That would be today's episode. So I am sure, unless you're living under a rock, you're starting to see some of the other coaches and people in the industry be really pushing that you don't need to be on social media. And while I am definitely a sales trainer side of business coaching more so than anything, I have built not one, but two businesses in the travel industry. One as a travel advisor, and now one as a sales trainer in the travel industry. Both of them I have built on the back of social media. But that being said, I haven't really waded into this conversation, but now I see another one saying you don't need to be on social media. The irony of it is, I was doing a training this same week, the same day that I was seeing these come out, and it was on Facebook ads. So here's the thing. Is social media over? Or is it just not being done right? That choice is going to be up to you. And I would love for you to come join me over on the socials. Haha. And let's continue this conversation. So the number one thing I heard when I was doing my Facebook ads training was when my coach said, you need to look at your business budget. Because a lot of people say, I don't need to be on social media. I don't need to be on social media. I don't need to be on social media. And she said, look at your budget. Can you afford not to be? Wow, that one kind of hit. You know, she said a lot of people are bootstrapping businesses. Well, bootstrapping means you got to look for the opportunities where they exist. Now, ironically, it feels like all of my podcasts were social media based. All of the whole world served me up this giant platter of social media this week. And so it was things from, can you afford not to be on there? To the conversation of, what does it look like? Because if you're sitting on the sideline and you're going, I don't know how to build this travel business, nobody's coming, and I refuse to be on social media, guess what? What you're doing ain't working. How's that Dr. Phil saying go? How's that working for you? That's my question. How's that working for you if you're not on there? Maybe you are on there and you're still not getting results. Well, that's quite possibly because you're doing something that worked for somebody else who is at a different place, who hasn't actually walked your journey. See, one of the reasons I was hesitant to even really go deep into social media or to do into marketing as a whole is because I've already walked that path and I know how many missteps there are. And so I did not feel myself to be the go-to expert in marketing. I can definitely help you with sales. But the more I'm looking around, I'm like, wait, there's people out here that are telling you how to do it that have never had to do it for themselves. So when their way doesn't work because they've never actually had to try it out and test it, they don't have an alternative. They just tell you do more. I've had so many conversations with travel advisors in the last, actually all of this month. It really started with the boot camp where I would get travel advisors that would say that their host agency, they would go to them and say, I need help. I'm not getting any leads, or like post on social media. Well, what do I post? Just post on social media. But I don't know what to say. I don't know what to just post on social media. That's the problem. That is the problem with social media. We're being told to be on there, but we're not actually being shown what actually works for the travel industry. See, just simply posting pretty pictures or talking about ourselves or talking about going away to this, that, the other isn't actually going to move the needle. Yes, you might grow some of that know, like, and trust. But ultimately, You need to be talking about whether or not you've got a solution for your clients, how this is going to make their life better, why they need to do this, what's it going to take to get them past that biggest hurdle. One of the most common things I use in my trainings, and it doesn't matter what I'm talking about, but it's the massage therapist. You will always see them on social media going, I have an opening at Tuesday at 4. I have an opening Thursday at 11. Nobody's saying, how naked do I have to be? You're fighting for the clients who probably already have somebody that they're working with. Let's change the conversation and start looking for the clients who don't yet know that this is possible for them, or that they have all these preconceived notions that are telling them river cruising is only for old people, or I could never afford that, or whatever it is that story is in their head. We need to be breaking that down so that they can look at it and go, oh, I belong here. I could actually do this. This is for me. Results on social media, as with everything in your business, are not instant. And yet we're led to believe post on social media, you're going to have business right away. I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen. Social media is a long game, but guess what? So is travel. We actually need to take a step back and talk about the fact that when you signed up with a host agency or you got into this industry, you were promised that this is going to be amazing. You're going to lead a laptop lifestyle right out of the gate. You're going to do this and you're going to do that. And it's going to be amazing. You're going to make money hand over fist. The thing they don't talk about is that, one, travel has an extremely long buying cycle. Yes, there are people who travel multiple times a year. Yes, there are people who travel every year. But the majority of clients travel every 18 to 24 months. Depending where they come into your cycle, or where you come into, you come into their cycle, they might have just booked. Which means it's another 18 to 24 months if you've got a relationship with them. And it's a good enough relationship that's going to encourage them to move from the way they have been doing it before they'll even give you that first sale. Now, let's have a look around. Not that saying that they will for sure give you your next or their next sale. We still have to get them to interrupt their pattern. We have to disrupt that pattern so that they're like, no, this is who I want to book with. This is how I want to book my next trip. Because otherwise, they already have a system in place. So not only are we needing to disrupt the pattern so that they look at you as the solution, but also, too, it's going to be a while before they're ready to book. But it's funny because most marketing people don't talk about that. They just talk about post on social, do this, do that, and you're going to have instant results. Well, you might have instant engagement. And that is one of the first steps. But at the same time, as they say, likes don't pay for supper. So what can you do? The first and foremost is to remember it's going to take a while. And in fact, the coach I'm working with really emphasizes it's 90 days till data, not 90 days till results, 90 days till data. So until you have enough data built up to make the next decision in what direction you're going to go. See, it can take months and months and months of testing and working things through to find the right pieces. And even in that, they're only going to last for so long. See, social media has a lot of ebbs and flows. So what was working 6 months, 12 months, 24 months ago doesn't work the same as what it does today. I was actually out planting in my garden yesterday and listening to a number of different podcasts. And they were talking about the fact that if you're still doing the matchy, where you get the 3 lines in a row so that you can create your grid, or it's reel post, so that you have that, like when they look at the grid, it's all perfect, or it's all color coordinated, or it's all this, that, the other. That's not what they're looking for in today's world. You want to make sure that you're not putting all your effort into making everything matchy-matchy, but instead putting the effort into things that are going to connect. As part of doing my Facebook ads course that I was doing, I put out a couple of videos at the beginning of the week. And one of them led to something that was already built. One of them led to something that I had an idea for, but I hadn't built it. And here's the irony. That's the one everybody wanted. Now, for some people, that would cause immediate panic. I was like, oh crap. Okay, well, we'll do that in the morning. But I was able to do it in like 15, 20 minutes. I just popped down all my ideas, put it on a Google Doc so that I can keep updating as questions come in, or I think of something else. I'll just update it. And all I had to do was share a link. Those two videos, ironically, the one that I already had everything all built for, only I think 3 people asked for that. Now, it's possible because I have shared it before. Other people had wanted it previously. But the other one, I think we're up to 29 or 30 people asking for it. I hadn't even created it yet. We spend so much time in the planning, in the laying it out. And don't get me wrong. I remember the days when I had a big poster board in my office with Post-it notes, and they were color coordinated so I could try and create the matchy-matchy grid. I've done it where it's this and then this and then this, and I've had a schedule and it's been this and it's been, and now I go with what the conversation leads to. I put out content, and if nobody responds to it, well, we're going to scrap that for a while, or we're going to change it up. The way I talked about it didn't connect. Now let's try talking about it in a different way. Okay, people really engaged with the 60-second videos, not so much with the 5-minute videos, but the 5-minute videos had a higher conversion to sales. Okay, so am I out there for the vanity, for getting likes and comments and other such, or am I out there for actual sales conversion? Which one is going to drive the better results? And the question is, what results are you looking for? Are you looking for those vanity metrics? Or are you looking for the things that are actually going to convert to sales? Now, again, as a business coach in today's world, what my sales process looks like is very wildly different than what it looked like when I was a travel advisor. See, as a travel advisor, I couldn't put out an item that was only a couple $100. Well, I could, but then let's be honest, and there are people who do it, $299 Vegas. Nobody actually wants to deal with those products. Now, ironically, as I just said, those 60-second clips were the ones that were getting me the most amount of comments, the most amount of engagement. And it's so funny because, as they say, the reels are for vanity. The longer form is for conversion. And yet so many are so focused on getting those quick little dancing reels out, getting those ones that are just going to get people liking or sharing, but it's not necessarily actually getting them to the point that they'll buy from you. See, when we use social media or any type of marketing, now, when I opened my office, that was back in the heyday of social media being truly the wild, wild west. And nobody really knew what we were doing then back like in 2011. But I also had print marketing. I had radio spots. I had television spots. I had it all. And so when people say, I don't have time for social media, all I keep thinking back is that era when I was doing all of the other ones and having to proof ad copy and having to do this and having to do that and find all the other things. Trust me, social media was by far the easiest of the marketing. And I have to be honest, even today, it still is. Now, don't get me wrong. Having to create those 60-second videos as part of my homework for the workshop that I was in was hard. It was so hard. And I was doing it as a part of my own mastermind. There were several of us that were in there. So we were doing it as like a side conversation. And they're like, but it'll be harder tomorrow when it's longer. And I'm like, no, I can do long form. I'm used to doing podcasts where I can just talk and talk and talk and talk. Keeping it to the 60 seconds, that's hard. What is that saying? I would have written you a short note, but I didn't have time, so I wrote you 30 pages. That's kind of how I operate. But it's and I share that with you because nothing drives me more crazy than when I hear people say everything is so easy, so easy, so easy. I don't believe you. Straight up, I don't believe you. Either that or really, what are your successes? Because not everything is a success. Not everything is easy. And so when we keep telling everybody how easy it is, I think we're not being truthful. In fact, this Facebook ads coach that I'm working with, straight up, one of the first things she says is 90% of my ads fail. But those 10% that work make up for 1,000% of her business. We got to make sure that we're not just doing one thing and being done. I put out a social media post, nobody reacted, I'm gone. I think that's why so many switch to letting somebody else post on their behalf, selling off their real estate. Saying, yeah, sure, you post content for me, then I don't have to. It's easy. See, easy does not mean successful. Easy doesn't mean good. Easy doesn't mean right. Easy also doesn't mean easy. And the reason why I say that is because you guys end up in my DMs. Those people who are looking for the easy route end up in my DMs going, but I'm posting on social every day. And I say, okay, great. What are you posting? Oh, you're using a service. Yeah. How's that working? Well, it's easier. And I said, but the emotional toll it's taking on you right now, is that easier? No, it's awful. I'm in this situation. I have all of these, this, that, the other. That's because we tried to take the easy way out. Now, I'm not here to say everything in life has to be hard and everything in business. What I'm actually saying is it can be simple. And there's a huge difference between what's easy and what's simple. And the problem, I think, with so many social media, just marketing as a whole, is we've overcomplicated it. Here's the thing. Leads, followers, whatever, those are human beings. Unless, of course, you've bought followers, don't do that. Do not buy followers. You can tell the ones that have bought followers, they don't get engagement, or they'll have, 15, 20, 50,000 people that follow them and get like 2 or 3 engagements. Don't buy bots. It actually hurts you in the long run. Same with, don't be in pods, like and follow pods. Don't do that. Those don't work either. And you also, especially, I've seen that with the travel advisors here, let's all like and follow each other. You're only going, like, the algorithm's only going to show you more, your content to more travel advisors. You want to make sure that you're getting people outside of your own world. You want to make sure that the people you're attracting is actually people who would potentially want to do business with you. What else can you do? Well, you've got to be clear so that when somebody gets there, somebody gets to your content, perhaps they saw one of your reels and they thought that was absolutely fantastic. Or they saw a post you did because somebody shared it or something of that nature. When they click on your profile and they go and check everything out, they need to know what you do, who you help, and are they in the right place? So the questions they need to answer are, am I in the right place? Are you here to help me? And what do I do next? Those are the things that they need to know. They need to know whether or not you're going to help them solve whatever problem it is. And again, the hard part, and yet simplifies so much in your marketing, is understanding who you're talking to. That's not how much money do they make. It's not how old they are. Because here's the thing, you can have an ideal client that hits more than one age group because it's not actually their age you're selling to. It's their lifestyle. An example of that is recently there's been a lot of conversation inside of my groups talking about empty nesters and having conversations with empty nesters to be able to get their attention. And it's empty nesters, not yet grandparents. And so I said, first off, We don't need to add the not yet grandparents, because once they become grandparents, they don't refer to themselves as empty nesters. They refer to themselves as grandparents. So empty nesters automatically identifies them. But then I hear people trying to add on empty nesters age 55. And I said, well, why do they have to be age 55? Well, that's how old they have to be an empty nester. I was an empty nester at 39. I would not have identified with the things you would put out at 55. Yet I identify with being an empty nester and suddenly developing this whole new sense of freedom, this whole new OMG, the world is my oyster. Like, I am about to go and see the world. Now, unfortunately, I became an empty nester in 2018. So we traveled in 2018, we traveled in 2019, and then we all know what happened after that. So we are just getting ready to launch our empty nesterhood. But it's talking about where they're at in life. What do they have in common? We have to look more at the psychographics than the demographics. A lot of times when I am working with travel advisors in the sales program and in the sales coaching, I'll say to them, okay, well, who are you trying to work with? Like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Oh, I only want to work with people 6 figures. I said, great. What is it about people with 6 figures? Oh, they have money. I said, and that's why you can't sell to them. See, when we only focus on somebody's wallet, they smell you coming. And the same is true in your social media. When you're only having conversations relating to money, whether that's going into your lead gen or whatever else, and you're using words that specifically identify the amount of money they need to spend, you're probably repelling more than you're attracting in the wrong way. Now, don't get me wrong. Your marketing needs to repel as many as it attracts, so long as it's attracting the right people and repelling the wrong. When you use language that is solely based around, I'm going to spend all your money, I don't know who you're going to attract, but you're definitely going to repel what otherwise would have been right clients. So we need to make sure that we know exactly who we're talking to. Again, another word that gets overused so often is luxury. And yet when we drill down, it's probably not a luxury client. It's more of a premium client. And when you start throwing around the words like luxury, they don't identify as that. So they don't raise their hand to learn more. We want to make sure that we're having conversations with humans. Back when I sold travel full time and I would go on a FAM, particularly like as an example, when I would do like the Caribbean or Mexico, and I would do a FAM and we would go tour dozens of hotels and resorts. Oh, that is the one thing I actually don't miss about the industry. And again, up here in Canada, we do our FAMs a bit different than the Americans. Whew, I have been on some doozies, like brutal. But what I would do is for every resort that I went to, every property I went to, if it was one I was willing to sell, because trust me, there was a lot that I didn't. Insider tip, if it shows up with a blue syrupy drink, the stronger the drink, the worse the resort. Give you a bottle of water when you came in. I was like, ooh, this is going to be good. But when I would go through, I would think of somebody in my own personal life that'd be like, this property is good for Betty. Oh, John's going to love that. This is perfect for Doug. Oh, Cindy would love this. George would love that. Oh, I could never send Chris here. I could send, and I would go through, and at the top of my paper where I was recording notes, I would write who I would send there and who I would never send there, because then it gave me that tie-in so that I knew exactly who it was that I would have that conversation with. Now, what that also does is it shifted the way I posted about it, because now I knew who I would sell that property to. So when I would post about it, again, never, ever, 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 ever post the name of the property. One, my very first fam, we did a site inspection of a property as we drove by it the second day to go to a different property. Or actually, no, it was in that morning. That afternoon, they changed the signage. Like within 24 hours. I can't remember if it was the same day or the next day. Completely different name of the property. So don't list the names of the properties. But what I would do is I would say something to the effect of, well, and again, it depended who I was talking to, but OMG, I got to see the most amazing property for families. If you're looking for this, and this, I've got the property for you. Go ahead, send me a DM and let's get the conversation started. You know, we could do things like that. I knew that that's what they wanted. Now, when I was having when I would see a property that was so perfect for the couples that were on my list, you know, because while I sold family travel, obviously mom and dad still needed to get away. I would shift the language and it'd be just, you know, and I'm riffing right here while I'm doing it, but it would be something that would be like, oh, if you're looking to relax, this is where you come when you've left the kids with the grandparents. And you won't have to worry about this, you know, wash all these worries away. Because I knew what human I was talking to. I knew who I was helping, who would be perfect for that, and why it was. Now, the other notes, because I'm just going to wrap up here. The number one thing I put on here too, don't be using the same content as others. Again, those auto posting services, that's one of the reasons they don't work. Using captions and other such from others, that's sometimes why they don't work. And going forward, and I don't, and this is where I'm not the expert, but I do know that Meta is making some big changes. You're going to actually be able to start paying if you want. No, don't panic. You don't have to pay to play at this point, but there is going to be ways in which content creators can get a paid program within Meta. And each one comes with some perks. But one of the things that's going to be happening, and I'm not sure if it's solely just if you're paid or if it's as a whole, but now they are going to downgrade if you are using somebody else's content. If somebody else has already posted it, they're going to tag them in the post and say, this actually belongs here. So I have a hunch there's going to be a lot of people who are not doing their own stuff that are about to get found out. For myself, I am definitely going to be pulling up a lot more of the files of old photos I've taken over the years, you know, from all my trips, whether it was Greece or Italy or Spain or South Africa, wherever it was. I'm going to be going through and I've got my next trips planned. And part of what we're going to be doing is taking a lot more photos so that I always have my own available to use. Because if this goes forward, which I actually think is a great thing, I am so sick and tired of following pages, only to find out, or like to get shown a suggested post, only to find out somebody else has ripped off their material. Now, obviously, I'm talking about bigger pages, like the ones with the millions of followers, but the same is true even in our industry. I remember years ago, I was scrolling through Facebook and I'm like, oh, wow, that photo. Wait, I know that's my photo. And people were taking, other travel agencies were taking photos I had taken from weddings I attended and was marketing on my wedding site and posting it as theirs. Like, that's not cool. Like, just not cool. So that's why you have to know where they're getting their photos from. If you're using a photo service, do you actually have the right to use it in a commercial setting? If you are in something where they are providing it for you, do they have a right that's extended to you? And is there a time limit on how long that can be on there? There's so many things that go in behind the scenes that I think we're hitting a point in the world where we can't just blanketed assume that everything that is out there is automatically available. There is some things we have to be mindful of. So, to wrap up, is social media done? No. Does social media look like the way it did 10 years ago? No. Will social media look the same in a year or 10 or whatever? No. The thing is as of today, This is the best possible time to be on social media. As things move on, as things change, I don't know if this will still be the same answer 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 18 months from now. But as of today, as of this recording, I'm going to reiterate what Laurel Portier said. Can you afford not to be? Now, if your business is off and soaring and you have more leads coming in than you know what to do with, and you are converting at breakneck speed, I'm going to assume you're actually probably not listening to my podcast. But if you are still struggling to get leads, you are still working to get more people to come into your world, you're looking to attract new people. See, we can't just rely that once we get everything going, that's it. We still have to have ways of bringing more people in, whether that's through referrals and repeat business. That's great. And in fact, there are a lot of businesses. Actually, that was the point I wanted to make. That's the one I'll close on. There is a lot of businesses who have a massive referral business because they've been doing this for so long that they're already known. They have been doing this so long that they are so well known that they can absolutely run a business entirely on referral. And I don't know about you, but that sounds heavenly. But the question is, how well known are you? How well known are you for this thing? Maybe you're known for another industry. Maybe you're known for another career, another lifetime, whatever it is. How well known are you as the go-to travel expert? Because if you are not known as the go-to travel expert, when somebody says, we did this and it doesn't work, you can't take that as gospel because maybe they're already known. Maybe they don't need social media because they are so well known that they don't need it anymore. Or they don't need it in this way. But just because that's their results, we also have to look at where they're at. We have to look at what are they achieving, what are they accomplishing, and what does all of the rest of that engine look like? Same is true when somebody says Facebook ads don't work. I'm going to tell you, I just spent 3 days. I drug my butt out of bed to be at class for 7 a.m. I am not a morning person. I was so frustrated doing the homework, but I knew in order to be coached or in order to get coached, I had to be coachable. So I pushed through and the results blew my mind to the point I went, oh, people who say it doesn't work don't know how to use it. I am by no means an expert. I was chatting with a business friend of mine here in town. I was telling her about this and she's like, well, can you just tell me about it? And I'm like, you're going to need to get her book. You're going to need to take her class and you're going to need to do all the things because I'm in her membership. I take her class. I take, I've done the book. Like I've done all the things and I still needed buddies in order to go through it because it was a beast and it was an entirely different way of looking at it. And that different way caused me to have to think about things in ways I wouldn't have otherwise. So when you are deciding whether or not social media is dead for you, I need you to decide how well known are you already. If you're not known, can you afford not to be? Because yes, there are definitely other ways of getting your name out there. There's definitely other ways of doing it. But I promise you, nothing is going to be more cost effective than social media. You just have to know how to do it right. We're going to be having a conversation inside of our free Facebook group in June about social media and giving you some of the tips that you're going to need to know to be able to start attracting people who are actually ready to buy. I'm not big on getting huge following and getting all these email subscribers if nobody's ever going to buy from you. That's a marketer's job. My job is to help you find the people who actually want to buy from you. So if you're not already in our Facebook group, come on over and join us. If you want even more coaching from me, come and join us over in the Travel Advisor Success Studio. It's our brand new membership until the end of May of 2024. We actually still have our founding members rate, so you can come join us there. I'm going to link that up in the show notes as well. By being a member of that, you are entitled to our weekly live trainings that are done on Facebook every week, but you're also going to get an invitation to come and join our actual coaching calls where we do those on Zoom. You get to ask your questions and get to be coached by me in a group setting. Okay, until next time, happy selling.